2 p.m. on KSHP. I'm Jeremy Long, the Full Metal Traveler, and along with my wife Amy, we'll take you to places you've never heard of and introduce you to destinations you've never seen.
If you're ready for adventure out on the open road, check us out on the Unskilled Travel Show presented by Diamondback Land Surveying, each Saturday at 2 p.m. on KSHP, or find us online at fullmetaltraveler.com.
What's up, Vegas and my online listeners? I'm so excited to announce my new live radio talk show, The Jamie D Show. If you don't know who I am, well, that's about to change. I'm an actor seen on several TV shows and movies across TV One, Oxygen, the ID channel, and Netflix. I've been on several billboards across the world, I've done several commercials, and I've been heard live on several different major radio shows. Now it's my turn to do my own thing. So get ready for eye-opening discussions, mind-bending debates, entertainment news from all over, and gripping stories that'll make you question, reflect, and call into the show. I'll be covering entertainment, pop culture, social issues, and more. I'll also have an incredible lineup of celebrities, industry experts, and fascinating individuals from all walks of life. The Jamie D Show starts June 6th and will be every Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. until 11 a.m. PST, live on KSHP AM 1400 and 107.1 FM. You can also stream my show live on KSHP.com. Let's make magic, Vegas.
This holiday season, Black Bear Diner is offering a limited menu with feature holiday specials and family meals. On Thanksgiving, Christmas Eve, and Christmas Day, guests can enjoy a full 3-course holiday dinner, including 8-ounce home-style roasted turkey, 8-ounce old-fashioned smoked ham, and 10-ounce slow-roasted prime rib. All 3-course holiday specials come with a cup of soup or salad, cornbread muffin, mashed potatoes with gravy, green beans and cornbread stuffing, and a slice of pumpkin pie with whipped cream. Looking for less? Black Bear Diner is offering smaller portion 4-ounce roasted turkey and smoked ham dinners with all the fixings. And both offerings are available as a Cub dinner special for kids. You can also order family meals with 32-ounce protein choices, plus all the fixings and even a whole pumpkin pie. Black Bear Diner will begin serving its holiday offerings in diner starting at 11 a.m. on the day of each holiday. Visit blackbeardiner.com to find the location nearest you.
The views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the program's participants and do not necessarily reflect those of station staff, management, and advertisers.
It's time for the most interactive radio program in Las Vegas today. It's time for Pushing the Limits with Brian Shapiro. Brian will talk sports, politics, entertainment, and anything that matters to you. Feel free to call Brian at 702-221-7283.
You want answers? I want the truth!
Now, Pushing the Limits, here's Brian Shapiro.
All right, what's up, everybody? Yes. Happy Tuesday. It is Pushing the Limits. Thank you, everybody, for joining us, making us a part of your day. We appreciate you. We're all over the place, man. We're on YouTube, broadcasting live, TikTok, Twitch, Twitter, X, or whatever the hell it's called. And, of course, the AM, FM dial as well. So we've got a fun show lined up for you today. Some very fun, interesting guests, some friends. And, man, do we have a lot to get to today. Brian Salmon's going to be joining us in hour number 2. Talk about this NBA midseason tournament. I told you guys I was worried about my Celtics yesterday. We'll get to that coming up in hour number 2. So here's an interesting guest that I have on the show. She's a Democrat that is running for president of the United States. Her name is Terrisa Bukovinac, but she is extremely, as she calls herself, pro-life, anti-abortion, making some headwaves. I just saw her on Fox News the other day. And she wants to defeat Joe Biden and the Republicans, but a pro-life Democrat is rare. So she's going to be joining us coming up at the bottom of the hour. Should be interesting there. We got a lot of other stuff to get to. Dana Bash getting into it with Representative Jayapal, who I'm not a huge fan of at all. I believe she is anti-Israel. Interesting conversation. We'll talk about that a little bit later on in the program. And, a lot of other stuff to get to. As I mentioned, we're going to talk about Fetterman clowning George Santos, who was just expelled. And now George Santos has a new job. We'll get to that in a moment. But I want to start off with some of the redonkulous stuff of the day. You might have heard of this guy before. If you're outside of Nevada, maybe not. He's a huge MAGA clown. His name is Joey Gilbert, and he ran for governor, of course, as a Republican in the state of Nevada. Now, me and Joey have gotten into it a lot on multiple occasions on and off the air. But Joey Gilbert apparently is going to be running again for office, and he puts out these crazy videos. And the reason why I play them is because Joey Gilbert is a perfect example of the far right, the far MAGA right that is obsessed with transgenders. They're obsessed with, I guess you could say, gender ideology, the Biden crime family, misinformation about COVID, and Joey Gilbert is a perfect example of that. So I want to play the latest clip that he put up on his social media page, and then we'll discuss after.
It's about to be 2024. Give it a rest. We know it's political. How do we know it's political? Because now everywhere you see where they're chanting about, Palestine from the river to the sea, or they're pro-Ukraine, or they're pro-drag queen, story hour, or they're pro, gender affirmation, play pretend nut job stuff. They're all in masks. So what does that mean? It means it's political. It was always political science. It was never actual science.
I mean, this guy is so crazy. It's just unbelievable. First of all, let me explain to Joey Gilbert, and for some of you MAGAs out there that might not understand, it's not that so many people on the left are pro-drag queen story hour. They are pro-anti-bigotry. And so many people on the far right attack transgenders, attack drag queens. And if the Republicans didn't attack so many people like the drag queens and the transgenders, et cetera, then Democrats wouldn't be talking about this. It's not like Democrats are waving the flag in front of Target saying, please shop at Target so you can get those pro-LGBT shirts. No, it's the Republicans that are so anti-gay, anti-transgender, anti-LGBT community. And this clown, Joey Gilbert, puts out this little 30-second clip on his Twitter page saying, all these Democrats, they're pro-drag queen. No, it's not that we're pro-drag queen. We are pro letting everyone live as they live. We are pro treat everybody as equals. And then he goes into this video and he calls it, pro-Ukraine. It's not even as we are pro-Ukraine as we are pro our allies, and we are anti an evil, murderous dictator in Vladimir Putin invading another country. And to make the suggestion that all these pro-Palestine rallies, they're all a bunch of liberals and Democrats, is also idiocy, because it's not true. A lot of these people that hold these pro-Palestine rallies, and a lot of these people that are across the country that you might find to be anti-Israel, are you asking what their political affiliation is? Are you assuming that they're all Democrats and they're all liberals? Of course not. Of course you're not doing that. So this guy, Joey Gilbert, is just a perfect example of what I'm talking about when it is the far right. Now, if anyone out there can tell me what Republicans actually stand for today, other than gender ideology, attacking transgenders, attacking the Joe Biden administration, brown-nosing Donald Trump, anti-gay, can't separate church from state. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. How are Republicans helping you? I know you're going to think I sound like this big liberal making that statement. What have Republicans done? Name me a bill that Republicans have passed, like in the last couple years, that you could say, wow, that really helped the American people. Wow, they're really helping me, those Republicans. You can have your criticisms about Democrats, but what solutions do Republicans have? And if you don't believe me, just look at these last several Republican presidential debates. What have they said that would lead you to believe that Republicans are the way to go and they're the ones to vote for? Folks, I just don't understand. Speaking of some Republicans, as we all know, George Santos was outed from office. He is no longer a congressman because he is a liar, and he certainly duped his constituents, and he lied literally about everything. And now he's under investigation, and he's already been indicted, by the way, for multiple crimes, many crimes that I believe he committed with campaign finance violations and using credit cards. And I mean, the list goes on and on. I believe George Santos is absolutely a criminal, and he's probably going to go to jail. With that being said, he's got a new job. He's now doing cameos. We'll get to that. But Representative Fetterman made an appearance on The View. And I know some of you might think that The View is very liberal and attacks right-wingers all the time. But one thing I will say about Fetterman is I believe he is very fair. And Fetterman made this appearance on The View. And listen, Republicans will never do this. They'll almost never out people in their own party, whether it be Marjorie Taylor Greene or Lauren Boebert, committing a sex act in a public theater. You won't hear a lot of Republicans outing out their own. But Fetterman has no problem in doing so. And Mr. Menendez is in a lot of trouble. He's in a lot of legal trouble, and Fetterman has been at the forefront of this, saying that he should also be outed from office. And all these Republicans are, oh, wow, I can't believe I agree with Fetterman. Because when a Democrat outs their own, then Republicans all of a sudden are for it, but Republicans can't do that. Anyway, this was Mr. Fetterman on The View talking about Menendez and talking about Santos. Have a listen to this exchange.
You might have heard that Congress just expelled George Santos.
Yeah, Santos.
Yeah, and you've also been calling to get rid of Menendez, I know. But first, before we talk about that, what's your reaction to the expulsion?
Well, it's like I'm not surprised, but to me, I think the more important picture is that we have a colleague in the Senate that actually did much more sinister and serious kinds of things. Senator Menendez, he needs to go. And if you are going to expel Santos, how can you allow to somebody like Menendez to remain in the Senate? And, Santos's kind of lies were almost, funny. And he, landed on the moon and that kind of stuff. Whereas, I think, Menendez, I think, is really a senator for Egypt, not New Jersey. So I really think he needs to go. And especially, it's kind of strange that if Santos is not allowed to remain in the House, someone like that. Yeah.
Are you, though, uncomfortable with the fact that there hasn't been an adjudication, that while he's been charged, there hasn't been a conviction? With Menendez.
I am. And it's like he has the right for his day in court and all that, but he doesn't have the right to have those kind of votes and things that's not a right. And I think we need to make that kind of decision to send him out.
Fetterman makes so many good points in that clip. Fetterman is fair. And I'll be honest with you, I'm a fan of his. I don't care the way he dresses. I care what he gets done. And he's so right. And I think the most important part of that clip is you have a right to defend yourself in court, innocent until proven guilty, but you don't have a right to vote on bills. That's not a right. It's a privilege. And Fetterman is 150% correct. Menendez should be outed, just like George Santos was outed. Now, with that being said, there are some people that actually clowned George Santos because the former congressman, fresh off his historic expulsion last week, has now created a new Cameo account. Yes, that's right. The public can pay, if you don't know what Cameo is, the public can pay for a personalized video message. The bio on his account is former congressional icon, which I think is laughable and hilarious. But by the afternoon, users, including several lawmakers, were posting clips of Santos offering advice and blowing kisses and making jokes about Botox. But here's something interesting, because somebody actually clowned Santos into doing a cameo, giving Mr. Menendez some legal advice, I guess. Have a listen to this.
Hey, Bobby. Look, I don't think I need to tell you, but these people that want to make you get in trouble and want to kick you out and make you run away, you make them put up or shut up. You stand your ground, sir, and don't get bogged down by all the haters out there. Stay strong. Merry Christmas.
Yeah, don't get bogged down by all the haters out there. By the way, I've just learned through my producer here that it costs somewhere around $250 for Mr. Santos to make a video like that. It's funny and it's both also sad, but I agree with what was stated by Fetterman. Both of them should not be in office. Both of them should not be representing you, the people. Look at some of the people that are in Washington, D.C. today. Look at some of the people that are supposed to be representing you. Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's never accomplished anything in her life except taking her wealthy family's company, spreading medical misinformation, comparing kids wearing masks to Nazis, being obsessed with Hunter Biden's genitalia. Marjorie Taylor Greene shouldn't be representing anybody. Lauren Boebert, who again committed a public sex act in a theater, who got a bunch of people sick because she couldn't make food that was clean and safe at her former restaurant. Matt Gaetz, I'd like to look at his Venmo account, by the way. DUI Matt Gaetz. People like James Comer, Gymnasium Jordan, Jim Jordan, who enabled and allowed children to be molested when he was an assistant wrestling coach. These are the people that are some of the leaders in Washington, D.C. Listen, I don't defend the other side either when I see it fit. Ilhan Omar should not be in office. Representative Tlaib should not be in office. I believe Tlaib is pro-Hamas. I really, truly believe that. There are people on the far left that I would say should not be in office either. It's not all Republicans, to be fair. Look at the people that are in Washington, D.C. today, and look at the man who was the leader of the Republican Party, Cheeto Jesus himself, who is facing 91 felonies. And we had the Q shaman on the show yesterday, who is, he won't admit it, but he's very pro-Donald Trump. And he is a part of the fringe right, even though he calls himself a libertarian, which he's not. He is a part of the fringe right and a part of the group where Donald Trump said I could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and they would still support me. That's the bottom line. And that group of people, doesn't matter what Donald Trump does, it doesn't matter what he says, doesn't matter whether he says he's going to rip up the Constitution or if he threatens a general of execution. It doesn't matter whether he's a liable rapist. There are still a group of people in this country that are on the far right that think Joe Biden is a pedophile. There are people on the far right that spread conspiracy theories and think Pizzagate was a real thing. Let me be clear, and I wish this wasn't true, but it is. There are pedophiles across this country, both Republican and Democrat. It's not funded by George Soros. There was no Pizzagate, and there are bad people in this country, both on the left and the right. And I know a lot of people that are not reasonable don't want to hear stuff like that. There are bad people, and not to use a phrase of Donald Trump, good people on both sides. There are bad people on both sides. And we need to call out those bad people. Donald Trump is one of those bad people. James Comer put out some information today. More dealings from Hunter Biden's business account. Revelations. Years of investigating the Biden family. So what did James Comer release today? You want to know? I'll tell you. Payments to his dad. 3 payments of around $1,100 because at one point Hunter Biden didn't have the credit to purchase a car. So his father purchased a car for him, and then Hunter Biden made some payments back to his father. That was the revelation, and that was the big news that James Comer released today. Is this a frickin' joke? Is this a joke? And then Republicans want to talk about, the fake Russia, the fake Russian collusion. By the way, there was Russian collusion to an extent. Russia did interfere in our 2016 elections. Do I think that controlled the outcome of the election? No, I didn't. You can't tell me Donald Trump didn't know about that. But regardless, Republicans want to talk about the Biden crime family. Byron Donalds put out a tweet claiming that Biden received money from Power. Now, there's no evidence to prove that, but something that the right-wing idiots out there won't tell you is those that actually worked in Donald Trump's administration are the ones that benefited, like the Jared Kushners of the world. Jared Kushner received $2 billion from the Saudis. $2 billion. But Republicans will never talk about that. What about Ivanka Trump, Donald Trump's daughter, also worked in Donald Trump's administration, made over $600 million from the Chinese government from her trademarks. But you won't hear about that from Republicans. All you'll hear about is Hunter Biden's laptop and the $50,000 a month that he got from Burisma. Did Hunter Biden take advantage of who his father is? Of course he did. But until you have laws that are put on the books that says that a family member can't take advantage of who their family member is if they're in office, then it's not illegal. Now, if you work in Donald Trump's administration or Joe Biden's administration or whoever's administration, and you are compromised, and there is evidence to prove that you are compromised with bribes, then that's against the law. There is zero evidence that Joe Biden or any member of his administration was compromised. There is evidence that Donald Trump and members of his administration were. How do we know this? Because Donald Trump didn't send Mike Pompeo out to Saudi Arabia. No, he sent Jared Kushner out there multiple times. And then 2 weeks after the Trump administration's tenure was over, Jared Kushner receives a check from the Saudis for over $2 billion. So if the Democrats want to complain about Hunter Biden and Hunter Biden's laptop, and they want to be obsessed with his genitalia, maybe, just maybe, they should talk about Jared Kushner a little bit. I will open up the phone lines if you want to be a part of the conversation. The number to call is 702-221-7283. And again, that number, if you would like to be a part of the conversation, 702-221-7283. 702-221-SAVE. You know, I talk about hypocrisy on this show all the time. And we see it in Washington, D.C. every single day. The only gun that Republicans seem to be obsessed with or care about is Hunter Biden's unloaded gun that he possessed illegally for, I think, a week and a half and didn't commit a crime with it. That's the only gun that Republicans care about. So when you hear Republicans say that they care about our kids and they feel like our kids are being indoctrinated, why don't they address all the gun violence in this country? Why? Because many of these lawmakers care more about their A-plus rating from the NRA than they actually care about doing things to make us safer and public safety. If many of these Republicans had it their way during COVID, no churches would have been shut down. They would have been totally okay with 60,000 people unvaccinated hanging out at Allegiant Stadium. Now, I believe there has to be some middle ground, and I think there were extremes on both sides. But don't listen to Republicans when they say they care about your public safety. Ron DeSantis has made it easier for felons to get guns. And I got into an argument, it wasn't even really an argument, just a stupid conversation with somebody the other day saying that when Fred Gutenberg came on my show, he lied because, it's illegal for a felon to get it done. Well, Ron DeSantis has put some new laws in place that when a felon is released from jail, within 8 years, they can qualify to buy a firearm. That, in essence, means that Ron DeSantis is making it easier for felons to get their hands on guns. Same thing with Greg Abbott in Texas. These Republicans, after some of the worst mass shootings in American history, we could be talking about Uvalde, or we could be talking about Parkland. They don't make it more difficult for criminals to get their hands on guns. They make it easier. Why? Why do they do that? It's not because they care about you and me, the American people. It's not because they truly believe that more guns make us safer. It has absolutely nothing to do with that. And it has everything to do with the fact that they want their A-plus rating from the NRA. They want to appease the base of the Republican Party. And make no mistake about it, the base of the Republican Party is dangerous. Oh, yeah. It's dangerous. And I don't believe those people on the fringe right really care about you or me. I don't believe that those people on the fringe right care about our well-being. Does every Democrat care? Probably not. But I think when you look at a lot of policy today, what Republicans vote for and what Republicans vote against for, I think you'll actually understand where I'm coming from. All right, so we're going to go to the phone lines. If you want to be a part of the conversation, again, that number to call, 702-221-7283. And again, that number, if you'd like to be a part of the conversation, 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's start off with Edward. Edward is first up. Edward, there is a really bad echo. Lower that. I don't know what's going on with our phone lines, but we have a really strange echo going on there on the board. Maybe we can fix that. Again, the number to call might be a part of. Maybe try that connection again. Let's try that. Number to call 702-221-7283 is the number to call again. 702-221-7283. When you're doing live radio, there is a little bit of a radio delay. So when you call in, you have to make sure that your radio is down. I know you've heard that on a lot of shows before. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Carl. Carl, what's going on?
Hey, Brian. Can you hear me? Am I coming through?
Yeah, you're good. Go ahead, my friend.
Okay. talking before about the guns and the transsexuals reading stories to children, and how many mass shootings and murders and all have come from doing something like that. I mean, mass murders and mass gun violence. It's so ridiculous that nobody's ever been killed or hurt by anything like that physically.
Yeah, that's what I try to. You're right. I mean, that's what I try to tell a lot of these Republicans today that think that drag queen reading is just the worst thing in the world. What I say is, how many kids have died from drag queen reading, right? When people want to talk about public safety, what I ask them is, okay, where are kids getting massacred? Where are they getting harmed? Where are they getting hurt? It's not in the restroom that they're getting hurt. It's in the classroom. They're getting gunned down in our schools. And Republicans just don't want to talk about that. And if they are forced to talk about it, they'll say we need to lock our back doors. We need to arm our kindergarten teachers. I mean, it really is insane. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. And then there's another stupid thing. A lot of these gun lovers on the extreme far right, they bow down to the NRA instead of do to Trump. Well, the NRA is an F-rated which the Better Business Bureau has got an F rating. They did nothing but steal from all their people who sent in dues to them. The head of the NRA was the biggest thief, one of the biggest thieves in the world. He stole all the dues that came in.
Wasn't it what's that guy's name? Thief. I don't know. I forgot his name, but you're
something
right.
Like that.
Yeah.
They used all the money. He used all the money for travels, for luxury cars, for trips, for vacations, for clothes. He went to Beverly Hills and spent.
You're right.
$300,000.
The NRA and those who are running the NRA do not care about public safety. All they care about is profit and how they can steal money and go on their vacations. You're absolutely right. And it's not. I haven't heard one campaign commercial from a Democrat that bragged about their NRA rating. In fact, they bragged that they have an F rating from the NRA. And you know what? I'd rather vote for people like that than people that care about their stupid A+ rating from the NRA.
Well, that's true. Well, let me leave with a political thought.
Yes, sir.
Everybody, I think, when the 24 election comes on, should vote for Donald Trump. People, but let me put a exception on that. Only people who want a dictatorship should vote for Donald Trump. And the ones who do definitely want dictators in office.
You're absolutely right, Carl. I appreciate your call, my friend.
Okay,
thank you very much. So somebody on social media just wrote, imagine wanting only the government to own guns. There's not one Democrat that wants that. So that's an idiotic statement. There's not one elected official that wants to take all your guns away. Again, it's a lie or misinformation. Regardless, it's not true. There's not one Democrat in office today that has ever said on the record or put forth a policy that said, I just want the government to own guns. So again, that's the most ridiculous statement I've ever heard. But many Democrats in office today, when it regards to guns, what they say is, we want to take away assault weapons, weapons of war. We want to make the age 18 to 21. Let's sharpen up those red flag laws. Never has a Democrat said in my lifetime, we just want the government to own guns. So again, that's a completely ridiculous statement, and it's absurd. So I've talked about gun control ad nauseum, and I'll continue to talk about it until something's done about it, that's for sure. All right, here's what we're going to do, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to take a quick break, and an interesting lady we have on the show coming up next. I've been wanting to get her on for a while. She's running for president of the United States. She's actually running against Joe Biden as a Democrat, and she calls herself pro-life. Terrisa Bukovinac is her name, and she's going to be joining us next. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Hey everybody, it's Brian Shapiro from Pushing the Limits here. I want to tell you guys about my good friends at the Postal Annex. They have a notary signing agent on site daily, no appointment needed, and they offer a full scale of printing services from shipping labels to documents, business cards, banners, photos, and business signage. They're your passport service headquarters. They offer passport photos and they can renew your adult passports. If you're traveling in a hurry, they can get those passports to you within 7 days or less. Mailbox rentals with a physical street address, and they also receive your packages from Amazon, UPS, FedEx, USPS, and more. Here's the best part. If you're a Pushing the Limits listener, they have an introductory rate of only $39 for a 3-month service. You can't beat it. Give them a call, 702-873-8005. Check them out at 6130 West Flamingo Road. It's the Postal Annex. Tell them I sent you.
Buying or selling a home is a huge life event that requires guidance from an expert in the industry and community. My name is Blake Wynn. You may recognize my name as my grandfather was the best governor the state of Nevada has ever had. Growing up in Las Vegas, I've come to know this community intricately. Now, I am raising a family here as well. So I understand all the issues impacting our home and quality of life. As the top realtor for the #1 real estate team at Keller Williams, you can have confidence in my experience, knowledge, and track record. When it comes to buying, selling, or investing in real estate, choose a name you can trust and someone who understands the community you call home. Call Blake Gwynn today and experience the difference of a trusted expert. 702-540-3311.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Tuesday. Thank you so much for joining us. A lot going on in the world, that's for sure. News, politics, sports perspective. There's a lot going on, man. And you know, I've interviewed a bunch of presidential candidates, but most of the presidential candidates that I've interviewed are those on the right. We have Vivek Ramaswamy on the show. I've interviewed Chris Christie. Plenty of people on the right that are running for president of the United States, but there's a lady that's running for president from the left. She is a Democrat. And she's making a lot of news, I guess you could say, because there are not many people on the left that call themselves pro-life, that are anti-abortion. What I want to do for you is I want to play you a campaign ad on her social media. Her name is Terrisa Bukovinac, and this is a campaign ad that she put on social media. Have a listen to this.
I'm a secular progressive activist. Last year, I recovered the remains of these 5 babies from an all-term abortion center in Washington, D.C. These are the faces of a genocide supported by Joe Biden and my own Democratic Party. We can provide for the working class and resist this extremism. I am challenging you to never vote for a pro-choice Democrat again. I'm Terrisa Bukovinac, pro-life Democrat, running for President of the United States, and I approve this message.
All right, so those are some really, really strong words. You heard what she said. I am telling you, she says don't vote for any pro-choice Democrat. Now, there are plenty of Democrats out there that are pro-choice. I'm not a Democrat. I'm an independent, but I believe in the woman's right to choose. Joining us right now on the line is the lady that is running for president of the United States. Terrisa Bukovinac joins us right now on the line. Terrisa, thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
Thank you so much for having me, Brian. I'm doing really well. Thank you.
Appreciate you being here. Okay, so let's start by letting me ask you the very basic question. Why did you decide to put your name in the ring and run for president and try to out Joe Biden?
Yeah, well, it's a great question. And it really I used to be a meat-eating pro-choice Christian. And over time, actually, it wasn't until I became an atheist that I started to think about the life issue in a new way. Before that, I thought babies go to heaven when they die. And like, maybe there's something bad that happens in abortion, but God's going to fix all the wrongs in the end. And it seems like very morally complicated. And like, I don't get involved in any of these like worldwide social justice issues. So I'm just going to pray about it and hope for the best. But when I kind of lost that faith, I really saw life from a new perspective. I thought, I'm here not because God has a will for my life, but because no one interrupted my life cycle and killed me. So I started to have these very pro-life views, but you know, I'm an atheist, I'm a leftist. I couldn't possibly be pro-life. So I just stayed quiet about it for a long time until I found other secular pro-life people out there and other leftist pro-lifers who do exist. And I became increasingly frustrated with the leadership on the life issue, particularly in 2015 when Donald Trump started running for president. And so by 2016, in the fall, I founded my first organization, Pro-Life San Francisco, and eventually in 2020 took to the election trail. I went to every single Democratic national debate demanding representation. The majority of Democrats actually do oppose elective abortion in the third trimester, for example, and yet the party platform is so extreme. They call for unrestricted abortion on taxpayer funding, and this is just not reflective of where Democrats actually are. So I
Let's talk about that. Yeah, let's talk about that. So you're right. The majority of Americans, Republicans and Democrats, do not agree with late-term abortion. I am one of them. I'm with you on that.
Great.
But, however, with that being said, and I think you know this, the overwhelming majority of Americans in just about every poll, 6 out of 10, believe in the woman's right to choose. So would you agree that you are in the minority there?
Yeah, I think in the case of first trimester elective abortion, I would say, yeah, but I'm not such a minority that I shouldn't matter. In fact, polling shifts, it could be 1 in 3, 1 in 4, but a strong, small but still significant minority of Democrats actually call themselves pro-life. And if you get into the nitty-gritty of polling of when most people believe it should be illegal, there are literally tens of thousands of abortions happening in our nation that are basically totally allowed by the Democratic Party and promoted by the Democratic Party, but not reflective of where most Democrats actually are.
Okay, so let's, instead of getting into debate right off the bat in why maybe I might disagree with you on the pro-life, pro-choice debate, and I respect your opinion, let's talk pragmatics. Right now, there are hundreds of thousands of kids that are waiting to be adopted. That's with abortion, for the most part, being legal in most parts of this country. If we banned abortion tomorrow, literally, and you know this, millions of kids would be without parents, and that would be, waiting to be adopted. How do we address that issue if we just say, okay, we're just going to ban abortions?
Well, a couple things. First of all, I don't think that that's necessarily the case. There's a lot of data to unpack there with what you're saying. But I think, in general, when it comes to human rights, we shouldn't kill people as a way to try to deal with our social ills. And so my campaign, it is about mobilizing people who are kind of in the middle, like yourself. There has to be another option for Americans other than just abortion banned at every point in pregnancy and in all cases where most Americans aren't, but not allowing it into the third trimester for elective reasons.
I don't disagree with you on that, but let's go to the extremes. What about a child that, God forbid, is raped or the victim of incest? Because there are a lot of Republicans out there that don't believe in those exceptions. What is your take on that?
Sure. Well, that's the hard edge, like you said, of the pro-choice position. Whether you're pro-choice or pro-life, there's going to be a hard edge of your side. Mm-hmm. And so most pro-lifers, including myself, acknowledge that there should be exceptions when the mother's life is in danger. I think that, in the case of child pregnancy, obviously due to sexual assault, that it depends on how you see the life of the child at that point. Is it life-threatening? And then when you get into cases and I didn't even get to finish telling you the story of why I'm running for president. We're already in this.
Sorry.
But I think that, my views on abortion in cases of sexual assault have shifted over time. For most of my professional career, I have said there should be an exception in those cases, and I understand why people see them differently. Okay. I'm not here to try to change your mind on that issue. I'm trying to bring the majority of people who recognize that in elective cases, many of these abortions go too far and that there needs to be some limits within the party, that the party needs to acknowledge that there is a small minority within the party that wants to see this happen.
So Terrisa, the point that I try to make on this show a lot, because I have a lot of criticisms for Republicans, when they, not you, but when they call themselves pro-life, they vote against maternity leave. They vote against almost every government program that could help that single mom raise that child. They vote against food stamps. They vote against welfare. They vote against raising minimum wage. I don't like it when those on the extreme right, MAGA Republicans, call themselves pro-life, because after the baby is born, their voting record speaks to the opposite of that. I want people to be consistent. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. That's why I'm a pro-life Democrat. That's why I've refused throughout my entire career as a pro-life activist to become a Republican. I don't think that that is the best way to address one of the worst human rights atrocities, in my view, in the history of our nation. I think that it requires a much more holistic approach. And I think that the reality is that abortion is tied up with a lot more serious issues that we have in this country, and it doesn't occur in a vacuum.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in March of 2022, after I had traveled around to all the Democratic debates demanding representation, I recovered the remains of 115 aborted babies outside an all-term abortion clinic in Washington, D.C. This is well documented. Feel free to Google it. 5 of those babies were extremely late term, past 30 weeks. Some of them were whole. Some of them appear to be victims of federal crimes, such as the Partial Birth Abortion Ban Act and the Born Alive Abortion Survivors Protection Act. However, there has been no investigation into their deaths, and I held these babies in my own hands. I've seen face to face the depravity of man. Okay. And that's not something that I can come back from. Now, you talk about the hard edge of the other side's debate, which is the other side's position, which is certainly, sexual assault cases of children. Absolutely. That's something we need to grapple with.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But that does not justify the murders of the children that I recovered, who were well past the age of viability, who likely were left to die either in their own amniotic fluid or were decapitated in the very latest part of pregnancy. This is extremism, and that experience has caused me to run for president. I'm not going to go through another election cycle demanding representation on the left, demanding justice for these children, when I know my party is to blame for this extremism, if I'm not going to get in the ring myself and at least try.
Terrisa, would you characterize any female that has an abortion as a murderer?
No, absolutely not.
You would not.
I would call any abortion doctor, anyone who physically does an abortion on a child, is a murderer.
So you would characterize the thousands and thousands and thousands of professionals in the medical field that conduct abortions, not because it's their choice, but it's because it's the woman's choice. You would characterize all those doctors as murderers that deserve, because a murderer deserves to go to jail. I think we both would agree on that.
I'm pretty anti-carceral. I'm a leftist, so I wouldn't say that I necessarily agree with that. I think they should have their assets liquidated. I think that they should have to publicly apologize to the communities that they've harmed. And I think that there needs to be restorative justice to the communities. But I think they absolutely need to be held accountable as for being the killers that they are.
Okay, well, obviously, in your definition, they're killers. But let me ask you this. Let's take it a step further here. I think a big difference between those that are pro-life and pro-choice. Like, listen, I'll be honest with you. I'm pro-choice. I don't agree with late-term abortion, but we obviously disagree on this. But I look at somebody like you and I say to myself, Terrisa, go ahead and have 100 kids. I have no problem with that. But why are you going to tell my family what to do? Why are you going to tell personal, women throughout the country what to do with their bodies when we're not going to tell you what to do with your body? What would you say to that?
Human rights violations aren't just a choice. It's not. Every law that we have to protect people is exercising some kind of control over what we can and can't do legally. And I'm saying that the role of government, if it has one role at all, is to protect its citizens from being unjustly killed. And right now, you can have an unborn child killed with impunity in most states and at any stage in pregnancy in like 7 of them. That is an injustice. And that's not something that we should just say, hey, let people choose, let them decide. If they want to kill someone, why would you infringe on their right to kill someone? This is an injustice that's being done to a marginalized group who has no voice, by the way, which is what my campaign is all about, because I'm hoping that through my campaign, people will see the victims of abortion and recognize that they are being killed by the thousands every single day in our nation. And it's my party to blame.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there are a lot of Democrats out there that are pro-choice. There are some Republicans out there that, as you know, that are pro-choice as well. I guess when we get into the weeds here, and this is probably where we'll have a disagreement, is a definition of what a human being is and what is not a human being. You have brilliant doctors out there that probably agree with you, and I would imagine you believe that life starts at conception. Plenty of doctors that would agree with you on that. But there are also plenty of people in the medical field and also brilliant doctors that do not believe that life begins at conception. I think it's a matter of opinion, not necessarily science. My opinion is it's a human being when it can survive outside the womb. Now, I know you probably disagree with me on that, but this is where people seem to disagree on. You know what I mean, Teresa? Where
Yeah.
life starts.
Well, if we could get a national ban at viability, like you're saying, I would be very happy. It doesn't mean that I would stop fighting abortion.
So you
but
agree
that
with
would
Nikki
be
Haley?
victory.
Teresa, do you agree with Nikki Haley? Because she obviously agrees with you when it comes to the pro-life issue, right? You guys agree. But I thought what Nikki Haley said on a debate stage was really in the middle, and I agreed with her. Let's not prosecute women for getting abortions.
Right.
Let's, though, ban late-term abortion. And I think if Republicans and Democrats or people like you, have these sort of agreements, I would be totally okay with that, right? Would you?
Well, let's get it done. That's what this campaign is about. Now,
Right.
To answer a couple of things that you said, life does begin at conception. That's a scientific reality. The question is whether or not that life has value, whether or not that life is a person. But we know that a brand new human being begins from the moment of conception. This is affirmed by 96% of biologists. This is a reality, okay? And I just got done giving a talk in Peter Singer's practical ethics class about this. But the debate is about whether or not that human being has value. And I would say that the concept of a non-human person is a concept that has been used exclusively throughout history to discriminate, and most of the time lethally, against whole groups of human beings. This idea that you can be biologically a human being, but you don't really have value until you have these certain abilities. That's literally an ableist characterization of the smallest members of our human family.
I think where we'll agree on is that late-term abortion, unless there's a medical reason, is wrong. I have no problem with banning that unless there's a health issue. I agree with you on that. The problem that I have is, realistically speaking, regardless of what your opinions are on abortion, the bottom line is millions of kids would be out there. And again, I go back to what I said earlier. There are not programs in place to help that mother raise that child, at least not enough. There are a ton of children out there that are still waiting to be adopted. I do talk to a lot of people. I don't know if this is the case with you, but a lot of people that are extremely pro-life, and they haven't adopted any kids. And we know that there are hundreds of thousands of kids out there, you could look it up, that are still waiting to be adopted. So when I hear somebody screaming to high heavens, with all due respect, we got to be, no more abortions, pro-life. I asked them, I say, how many kids have you adopted? And a lot of them say zero. I think, Teresa, what I'm trying to say is that's an issue. Would you admit that that's a big issue in this country?
I think that there are definitely issues with adoption. Adoption is a whole nother issue of exploitation of people and separating families. And there's definitely concerns about that. And I don't think that adoption is necessarily the answer to ending abortion. But I don't think that it invalidates a pro-life position just by saying, oh, you didn't personally adopt kids. Like, if you didn't personally bring in any Palestinians into your home or work towards getting them amnesty, do you even care about them? This is about the injustice of killing children in order to make a better society. And instead of trying to actually put the hard work into trying to build stronger families and trying to build a better structure of adoption and reintroducing families together. And the reality is that most people who need to be adopted aren't infants. And that there's people wait for years trying to adopt an infant because of abortion in a lot of ways, because there's just not a lot of infants who are waiting to be adopted.
Yeah.
And so I think that just this idea that, oh, if there's no abortion, there's just going to be a whole bunch more people and there's going to be a bunch more kids who need.
Well, their will.
I think that that is not necessarily the case, but let's say that it was. Let's say that it totally was. Then yes, that's something that we as a society need to take care of. That's something that we need to address. But that doesn't mean that unless you adopted a kid, then killing other kids should be fine.
Well,
that's not a way to help society. It creates a more toxic and problematic situation.
Well, I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about, because I think at times, some people are hypocritical. Example, I saw there was a My Body, My Choice rally when it came to the vaccines, right? And listen, I'm one of those people, even though I think the vaccines for the most part are pretty safe. I never said ever that anybody should be forced to get a vaccination. I've always been on the record as saying that, even though I took COVID very seriously. So I went up to this lady and I said, okay, my body, my choice. I can deal with that. But what's your take on abortion? And then all of a sudden her response was, oh, wait, that's very different. Well, I don't think it is. If it's my body, my choice, and I don't know what your take is on the vaccinations, then I say, then shouldn't it be your choice with what you do with your body if in fact you are pregnant? What are your thoughts on that?
So I am pro-vaccine. I mean, I'm against mandates, but
So we agree on that.
Yeah, I don't have any issue with the vaccine. However, I think that the analogy is totally incorrect, because you're not killing someone. This is a totally different situation. We're talking about whether or not you have the right to forcibly go in and destroy another human being, and to claim bodily rights being the reason. And I think that, it's a much stronger case in situations of sexual assault, like we've already discussed. But in the case of, consensually made children, to go back and then say, oh, my body, my choice, that is an injustice
All right,
to
let me
the
ask you another
child that's
question.
been created.
You're a mother. You have children?
Do not.
You do not. Okay. Doesn't matter. I can ask you this. I don't either, by the way. We're in the same boat there. Let's just say 14, 15-year-old girl. She's a freshman or a sophomore in high school, living with her mom. They don't have any money. They're in poverty. The mom's on welfare. Daughter makes a mistake. She has unprotected sex. We've all made mistakes. Nobody's perfect.
Yeah.
That daughter is frightened. She doesn't want to have that child. Has a conversation with her mom. Has a conversation with the young boy that doesn't want to be a father either. Both families agree. We don't want to adopt the child. We want to have an abortion. Very difficult decision for any woman to make. But both families agree. You're saying you want the government to get into that situation and say, nope, that 14-year-old has to have that child because our politicians voted against abortion. Are you comfortable in that situation telling both families what to do and telling that 14-year-old girl what to do in that situation?
A 14-year-old girl who's pregnant is pregnant by sexual assault. That's rape.
Not always. That's not always true. You know that, Terrisa. There's plenty of 14 and 15-year-olds out there that have consensual sex. You know that.
That's literally statutory rape.
Well, you can characterize it as that, but if a 15-year-old boy is having sex with a 14-year-old girl, I'm pretty sure that's not statutory rape.
Maybe that's true.
Yeah.
I would say every attempt should be made to preserve the life of the girl and the life of the child.
I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with that. But I'm asking you, are you
comfortable? Matters to most people.
Yeah.
I think that, making mistakes, absolutely. Like I think that pregnancy and the difficulty of going through pregnancy and having to parent is proportionate to just a moment of making a mistake. No, I don't. But this is how the world works. And the only way to get out of that is to kill someone. And so I think in most cases it should be illegal to kill someone if you have created them consensually.
Okay. I mean, obviously we're going to agree to disagree on that. I would also say that women sometimes commit suicide. And I think if more women were forced to have a child, I think we would lose more lives. That's my personal opinion.
I just don't agree with this idea of them being forced to. When you're in the example that you gave me, you specifically made the distinction that it was consensual.
Sure.
And it's just a total denial of the fact that there's another human being there.
I understand.
Okay, so let me ask you a question.
Sure.
So let's say you have you have someone who is pregnant, they don't want to be, and your cutoff is at viability.
Sure.
And let's say they decided a day before, they know they have one day before the viability standard.
Right.
Should they be able to have that child dismembered?
So, if there is a law set in place, let's just call it 3 months, just for argument's sake.
Okay.
And in that 90-day span, which I think is more than enough time for a woman to make that decision, then if that's the law, that's the law. And if she's allowed by law to have that abortion on the 89th day, then yeah, there would have to be that standard. I would like women to make a decision a little bit earlier. At the same time, I'm not going to get
dismember them younger, basically.
I'm sorry, what?
Just dismember them a little younger.
Well, again, your definition of dismembering, and listen, some of the campaign ad that you put, it's very, very graphic.
Yes.
And it's very difficult to see. And never once have I ever taken, the topic of abortion lightly. It's a very difficult decision that a woman has to make, and I would never want to be in that decision.
Why do you think it's difficult?
Well, I think it's difficult because it's a decision that a woman needs to make. Do I want to be a mother or not? Do
But
I
she is
want
already because a new human being already exists.
Well, it's a very personal decision that the woman has to make. I'm a man. I don't know what it's like to be pregnant. It's a very, very now for some women that I've talked to, they said it was an easy decision, but it's a difficult decision. But to answer your question, let's put some laws on the books. Whether that be I think a 6-week is ridiculous. Most women don't even know they're pregnant after several weeks. I think 3 months and again, this is just my opinion, right? 3 months I think would be fair. And then let's start there. So people on the left and people on the right maybe could agree on something. And then if a woman, now we still know this is another issue we haven't even gotten to, illegal abortions, right? Even if we have that in effect where you can't have a legal abortion after the 3rd month, there's still going to be people that are going to be conducting illegal abortions. Now, here's where I'm with you. If there is a law like that in effect and doctors are, conducting these abortions illegally, then I agree with you 100%. But we don't have really those laws in effect in many states in this country. And until we do, I don't want to criminalize doctors for legal abortion.
Dismembering babies past viability.
What
do you think about doctors who performed the doctor that performed the abortions on the babies that you saw in my campaign ad, Dr. Santangelo?
So I would have to know more. Yeah, sure. I would have to know more specifics on why that abortion took place. Were there any medical reasons why the mother couldn't have that child? I think it's a case-by-case basis. And I would also say, if you look at the stats, which I'm sure you have, very small percentage of abortions taking place in that time frame.
That's because nearly 1 million abortions happen every year in the United States. So a small percentage of that is still tens of thousands every single year that are aborted past 20 weeks. Like 11,000 this year alone. You say, it's just such a small minority. Oh, people only, seek out abortions in later term if there are these medical indications. And that's just absolutely not true. There is NIH research that our government funds that requires pristine fetuses that are from totally non-medical indications to research projects. Like some require 2 per month. And there's hundreds of those happening across the country.
I would need to know, I think it's a case-by-case basis, and I would need to know the medical situation there, which a lot of that obviously is private. Why that mother had that abortion so late. Was it a medical reason? Were there other reasons? Were there issues with the unborn, health issues there? So I think it's a case-by-case basis. But you're running for president of the United States. By the way, for just joining us, we're speaking with Terrisa Bukovinac, and we have talked about abortion for 25 minutes. I would imagine there are not a lot of people out there that are one-issue voters. I would imagine you have a lot of other things that you're running on your platform. This is one that a lot of people are talking about. But I want to ask you this question. If it is Joe Biden, who is pro-choice, versus Donald Trump, who claims, by the way, he's anti-abortion. I would venture to guess he's probably had some abortions in his life. But with that being said, who do you vote for? If it ends up being Joe Biden versus Donald Trump, who are you going to support?
So I want to clarify first that this is my entire platform. Okay. I'm not running to try to be president of the United States. I'm running to bring visibility to these victims that I encountered face to face last year. And
Mhm.
as a federal candidate, I can run ads on any FCC TV station uncensored by law. That is why I'm running. And to continue to put pressure on my party to back away from their abortion extremism, to reinsert the language in the party platform that allows for a diversity of views on this issue that they took out, I believe, in like 2008 or something. In terms of who I'm voting for, I'll do the same thing I did when it was Trump Biden last time. I can't vote for either of them. I can't give direct aid to either of these candidates who are going to violate human rights. Certainly not Biden. And I'm not a Republican, and I don't agree with anything else that Donald Trump stands for. And he's backed off the life issue so much anyways. He's literally said that it's a state's issue now and doesn't seem to be signaling that he's going to protect the unborn on a federal level at all. So there's absolutely no way I could give direct aid to either of those candidates.
I know that you're extremely passionate on this issue, and I appreciate that, but I'm a little bit surprised to hear you say that you wouldn't vote for Biden over Trump as a Democrat, even though I believe Donald Trump is a wannabe dictator.
Yeah.
I believe Donald Trump is, and you probably agree with me on this, a despicable human being who is responsible for attacks on our democracy. He wants to rip up parts of our Constitution. I also get the fact that you're very passionate on this issue and you disagree with Joe Biden when it comes to abortion. I totally get that, but that issue alone would make you not vote for Joe Biden over Donald Trump. I'm a little surprised to hear you
Joe
say
Biden
that.
is one of the most radical pro-abortion leaders in the history of the world. If I gave him direct aid in the form of a vote, I would be literally complicit in the deaths of tens of thousands, hundreds.
Okay, I get that. I totally understand, Teresa.
I'm not giving him any aid.
I totally understand that. But let me phrase it a different way. You obviously care about human life, whether it's unborn or born. I appreciate that. I understand your position on that. We're just going to agree to disagree on that. What about all of our kids that are getting gunned in our schools? And a guy like a Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis and Governor Abbott, they make it easier for felons basically to get their hands on guns. They're not doing anything to protect our kids in our schools, and the attacks on the LGBT community and attacks on transgenders. I go back. I understand you're completely against Joe Biden's position on abortion. I get it. But when it comes to actually protecting our children and healthcare, and you name it, I take the Democrat side on these social issues. Aren't those issues also important to you?
Yeah, they're incredibly important, which is why I have not abandoned the party and why everything I'm doing is trying to bring the party to a more winnable place. But this is peril times for all of these marginalized groups that you are talking about. If we really seek justice for them, we need to build a better party, one that is on a strong foundation of justice and equality, not one that has gotten there on the backs of millions of unborn babies. And I'm just not giving up. I'm not going to go to the Republicans, but I'm not going to give aid to pro-choice candidates any longer. I have in the past. I voted for Hillary Clinton. I totally regret it. It like literally hurts me to know that I gave her aid, even though she didn't win. And so I am encouraged. I'm trying to set an example for pro-life Democrats, because so many pro-life Democrats will do exactly what you said. Well, they're like, I really care about the unborn. I really care about this issue. But when it comes down to Republicans versus Democrats, I feel like I have to vote Democrat because of all these other groups. And this has perpetuated this late-term abortion problem for so many decades, for nearly 5 decades. And so I'm saying no more to that. And I want to set the example so that other pro-life Democrats will stop giving aid to pro-choice candidates too, so that we can build a better party.
My issue, or I guess my concern, right, is that you use the term winnable. And a lot of Republicans even would admit the reason why they had a terrible 2022 midterms was because of the abortion issue. And when you use the term winnable, what I am afraid of, regardless of what your position is on abortion, is that if people out there aren't going to vote for Democrats because of their pro-choice stance, then we're going to get some Republicans in office that are literally a threat to our democracy. And you look at Donald Trump, I can go through the list of why I feel that way. I guess that's my concern, Teresa. I'm sure people come up to you and probably raise those concerns with you as well.
Oh, for nearly a decade. And Republicans will constantly tell me I'm not really pro-life because I don't vote for Republicans. They say vote pro-life first. But
Right.
I'm giving voters another option. I'm giving the Democrats finally a way to vote pro-life first without having to compromise their other values or compromise for these other groups. And ultimately, hopefully, this will just continue to build and will continue to be able to put pressure on the party to roll back from some of this extremism.
Okay, so if I was running for office, which clearly I'm not, and you agreed with me on 99% of my policy, you probably would, by the way. We probably agree on a lot of issues. We obviously don't agree on this one. But if I told you, Terrisa, that I want a 3-month ban, but I want abortion to be legal up to 3 months, and then we will prosecute people for having late-term abortions unless there's a health reason. Are you saying that would still make it impossible for somebody like you to vote for me, even though if you agreed with me literally on every other issue and I was running against a guy like Donald Trump?
No, if there was a pro-life Democrat, or if there was a Democrat with your views, which I consider very pro-life, I know you keep saying, "Oh, we don't agree, we don't agree." You used a 3-month cutoff as an example. That is
Sure.
extremely pro-life view in my view. And if there was someone with your views running on the Democratic ticket, yes, I would definitely.
Okay, so I didn't know that. This is important. So you could characterize somebody as pro-life that still legalizes abortion. Is that a fair characteristic? Is that fair to say?
I think that I would say that you're more pro-life than pro-choice at that point.
Well, sure. I care about all human beings, of course. Our definition of what is
abortion specifically.
Right. I mean, listen, I think that most Republicans and Democrats would be okay with that.
I know. That's why I'm running. That's
right.
Literally why I'm running.
So I'll give you a little bit. I'm not saying you need my advice, but I'm going to give you a little bit, and you can tell me what you take away from this. If you run on, let's just have a 3-month ban. Let's give a woman the right to choose up to 3 months. Most Republicans and most Democrats would probably be on board with that. Why not run on that instead of running on, which I think maybe is extreme, in that any doctor who conducts an abortion, their assets should be taken away. And if you have it your way, all abortions are illegal. Why not just run on a more moderate Nikki Haley approach? Because I think that's actually doable. I think you and I both know abortion's not going to be banned in every state. It just ain't happening. However, I do think a 3-month or 4-month ban is absolutely doable. Why not focus more on that?
Yeah, I think as an incremental step, and if I was a real politician, if I was a sitting governor or a member of Congress, or had a legitimate pathway to the White House, then I would propose something like that. Not as an end game kind of thing, but certainly as a next step. What I've been pushing for in Congress the last year since I saw those babies is a ban of viability, which is something I think most Americans would agree with. And yet it is extremely polarizing to even say that, even as a Republican.
Yeah.
So the point, though, is that I am an activist. Okay, I'm not a politician. I'm not a sitting governor.
Right.
I'm here to piss people off. I'm here to ruin their day. I'm here to make them look at the victims of abortion and make them understand that what we're doing to these children isn't okay. And our hatred for Republicans and our hatred for their policies and their hypocrisy does not justify us just turning the other cheek while our party pushes this kind of extremism and will not protect these children. So
Understood. When we say turning the cheek, when I talk to a lot of extreme MAGA Republicans and they call themselves so pro-life, I believe they've turned their cheek on the American people. Again, I mentioned all those governmental programs that so many Republicans out there vote against. I want a little bit of consistency. And when somebody gives me some consistency, that's when I listen. When I hear somebody like Ted Cruz, talk about his pro-life stance, and then you look at his voting record and he couldn't even vote for a baby formula package when we needed baby formula on the stance. That's my take there. But I think we probably agree more than we disagree. I think you're right on this issue. And Terrisa, listen, I wish you back on this show anytime. We'll see what the listeners think about it, but I think it's a very important conversation to have. And I think more people need to have these kinds of conversations. And I really do appreciate your time, and I appreciate you joining us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Brian.
Appreciate that. All right. That is Terrisa Bukovinac, and she is running for president of the United States as a Democrat. Listen, she said some things that I agree with. She said some things that I disagree with. Example, I don't believe a doctor should be criminally liable or a doctor should have all their assets taken away because they conduct an abortion. I think that's crazy. If it's an illegal abortion, which, in this country, there are not many spots where you would conduct an illegal abortion, but if it is, then that's different. No, I do not believe a female getting an abortion is a murderer. I think that's very dangerous rhetoric to use. I know some women out there who have had abortions, and it's a very personal and difficult conversation to have. Luckily, I've never been in a situation like that before. I would never want to be in a situation like that. But I know women who have. It's a very difficult topic to talk about for most women in this country. I'm going to tell you this right now. They're not murderers, okay? They're just not. Now, are there exceptions and there are women out there that have had 10 abortions or more? Yes, I think that's completely disgusting and irresponsible, and there's other words I could use. But as human beings, we make mistakes. Some of you might be saying, well, Brian, you shouldn't call that unborn baby a mistake. Well, no, I am. I am. Because both parents that are involved would agree that it's a mistake. The thing that was concerning to me is I'm trying to be pragmatic about this topic. And what I mean by pragmatic is as follows. There are, and this is a fact, hundreds of thousands of kids right now that are waiting to be adopted. How can we ban abortion when abortion is basically legalized just about anywhere in this country, in most spots in this country, where we already have hundreds of thousands of kids that can't even get adopted, and now you're saying you want to ban abortion? We're going to have millions and millions and millions and millions of kids that aren't going to have parents. Who's going to pay for that? You have to ask yourself that question before you even talk about banning abortion. And that's my problem with so many people that call themselves pro-life. It's not that I don't respect their opinions. Look, the difference between me and a lot of other people is that I don't want to tell you what to do with your body. If you want to have plastic surgery, then you go ahead and have plastic surgery. If you want to look like Dolly Parton, you go ahead and you do that. It's your body. I'm not going to tell you what to do. If you want to have a sex change, whether you're 16 years old or 60, if you're a child and your parents agree to it, professional medical staff agree to it, you've spoken to psychologists, I'm not going to tell that family what to do. I'm not going to tell that adult what to do. I want to stay out of your life. And I think too many times in society, other people want to interfere, is the word I'm going to use, with your life. I want people to live the way they live. Get as many tattoos as you want. Get a nose job if you'd like. Get a sex change if you'd like. I care more about you being a decent human being and being a good member of society, paying your taxes, being a good person, caring about other people. I care more about that than what you do with your body. The last thing that I want to do is to tell a young girl, a 14-year-old girl, and I gave this analogy or this situation, I put it out there, Terrisa. A 14-year-old or 15-year-old girl, we know that kids, teenagers, young kids, younger and younger, are becoming more sexually active. I've read articles about children in middle school that were performing sexual acts. So yes, it is possible for 11, 12, 13, 14, 15-year-olds to not be the victims of sexual assault, but to have consensual sex with a classmate or a friend. That happens every day in this country. And that 13 or 14-year-old girl makes a mistake. Gosh, I mean, we've all made mistakes in life, right? 13 or 14, I couldn't even tie my shoelace. And that young teenager has unprotected sex. And that young child, because a 13 or 14-year-old is a child, gets pregnant. And both parties involved, both families involved, including that 13 or 14-year-old girl, all believe that an abortion is the best way to go. Are you the person that is going to interfere and call that 13 or 14-year-old a murderer and call her family a murderer because both parties involved agreed that this was the best way to go? I'm not going to do that. I think that's wrong. And I would never want to interfere in that very difficult decision. We can all have disagreements, and we could all think differently. but that's my personal opinion on the issue. So I want to play some audio for you before we go to break. And I appreciate Terrisa, by the way, taking the time to join us. I think it's an important conversation. So Dana Bash on CNN got into a heated discussion with Representative Jayapal about Israel and about Hamas. And the criticism from many is that the Ilhan Omars of the world and the Talibs of the world, and those in the squad and Jayapals of the world, are failing to call out Hamas, and if they do, they immediately attack Israel. Have a listen to this conversation, and then we're going to talk about it.
I want to ask you about sexual violence. And it's kind of remarkable that this issue hasn't gotten enough attention globally. Widespread use of rape, brutal rape, sexual violence against Israeli women by Hamas. I've seen a lot of progressive women, generally speaking, they're quick to defend women's rights and speak out against using rape as a weapon of war, but downright silent on what we saw on October 7th and what might be happening inside Gaza right now to these hostages. Why is that?
I mean, I don't know that that's true. I think we always talk about the.
Listen to that answer. I don't know if that's true. Representative Jayapal is either lying or she doesn't know what she's talking about. There are videos and evidence that women and children were raped by Hamas. And instead of immediately saying how much she's against it, which eventually she does say, but the first thing out of her mouth is, I don't know if that's true. No, Representative Jayapal. It is true. And the fact that you're a policymaker and you have a platform and you are unwilling to admit that is beyond problematic.
I mean, I don't know that that's true. I think we always talk about the impact of war on women in particular. In fact, I remember 20 years ago I did a petition around the war in Iraq.
Have you said,
saying
have
that,
you talked about it since October 7th?
Absolutely, and I've condemned what Hamas has done. I've condemned
Specifically
all
against
of
women?
the actions. Absolutely, the rape, of course. But I think we have to remember that Israel is a democracy. That is why they're a strong ally of ours.
Cut it again.
And
unbelievable. The question, and Dana Bash does a good job in challenging her on this, the question wasn't about Israel. Nothing in that question that Dana Bash asked was about Israel. The question was about Hamas and using rape as a weapon in war, which is what Hamas is doing. And you could have your criticisms on the Israeli government, that's fine. But there is no evidence that any Israeli soldiers or the Israeli government is raping women and children. Hamas is. That was the question that was asked. And what does Representative Jayapal immediately do? She turns it on the Israeli government in Israel.
if they do not comply with international humanitarian law, they are bringing themselves to a place that makes it much more difficult strategically for them to be able to build the kinds of allies, to keep public opinion with them. And frankly, morally, I think we cannot say that one war crime deserves another. That is not what international humanitarian law says.
Okay, with respect, I was just asking about the women, and you turned it back to Israel. I'm asking you about Hamas. In fact,
I already answered your question, Dana. I said it's horrific, and I think that rape is horrific, sexual assault is horrific. I think that it happens in war situations. Terrorist organizations like Hamas obviously are using these as tools. However, I think we have to be balanced about bringing in the outrages against Palestinians.
We need to be fair, she said, and we need to have middle ground on this. Well, let me be very clear, Representative Jayapal, because you are completely misinformed. And maybe you're just lying, or maybe you're just anti-Israel, maybe you're anti-Semitic, maybe all of the above. I don't know. She said one war crime doesn't deserve another. This drives me nuts. On October 7th, there were members of Hamas who raped women and children, who gouged the eyeballs out of the husband, cutting off the breasts of the wife while their children watched. young boys with their ankles being cut off, young girls with their fingers being cut off, babies being put in ovens. Representative Jayapal is trying to compare one with the other. Innocent Palestinians have died, and it's horrible and it's tragic, and I wish that didn't happen. But you cannot compare the real genocide of what Hamas is trying to do, and that is trying to kill as many innocent Jewish people as possible, to the Israeli government defending themselves and trying to wipe out Hamas, and in the process, killing innocent civilians unintentionally. And if you think Israel is committing genocide, which, by the way, they're not, but if you think Israel is committing genocide, then let me ask you a question. If Israel wanted to wipe out all of the Palestinian people, which, by the way, they don't, they want to wipe out Hamas, which we should want to be wiped out as well, including the Palestinian people. They should want that as well. But if that was the case, hypothetically speaking, because I believe that's what Representative Jayapal thinks, that's what Representative Ilhan Omar thinks, that's what Representative Tlaib thinks. They think that Israel is committing genocide. If that was the case, and Israel wanted to wipe out all Palestinian people, then why would they allow over 1 million Palestinians and Muslims to live in Israel? Think about that for a second. That is why Israel is not committing genocide. Make no mistake about it. Hamas wants to kill as many innocent Israelis as possible. They want to get rid of the entire Jewish people off the face of the earth. That's the definition of genocide. Israel is not committing genocide. And what Representative Jayapal likes to do, which so many others on the extreme left like to do, is they like to compare Hamas to the Israeli government. I'm not saying the Israeli government is perfect. They're not. But what I am saying is there is absolutely and positively no comparison between the Israeli government and Hamas. Hamas is a known terrorist organization.
Outrages against Palestinians. 15,000 Palestinians have been killed in Israeli airstrikes, 3/4 of whom are women and children.
And it's horrible, but you don't see Israeli soldiers raping.
Well, Dana, I
Palestinian
think
women.
we're not. I don't want this to be the hierarchy of oppressions. I think 15,000
Shouldn't
people
be.
have been killed.
It shouldn't be,
Palestinians,
which is horrible.
And 2.2 million Palestinians live in a 140 square mile area, which is about the size of Las Vegas, with a population that is 4 times that of Las Vegas, and 1.8 million Palestinians right now are displaced. They are living in shelters. They are being told to move to South Gaza, then South Gaza is being bombed. They're being told to move to North Gaza. There are no homes left. The vast majority of infrastructure has been destroyed. This is not the way that we are going to beat terrorism, whether it's Hamas or some future iteration of Hamas.
Okay, so again, this is what you'll never hear from Representative Jayapal, who I believe is anti-Israel and an anti-Semite. I'm just going to go out and say it. I think she's despicable. The reason why that so many of these Palestinians are displaced is not because of Israel. Again, it's because of Hamas. The reason why so many of these Palestinians are displaced, Israel has given them warning, and Hamas will not allow them to leave. They are trapped. But you'll never hear Representative Jayapal say that. You'll never hear Representative Jayapal talk about how these innocent Israelis were butchered. Now, I don't have a problem with people talking about the loss of life of these Palestinian people, many of them innocent. I don't have a problem with talking about that. It's tragic, it's terrible, and I wish it wasn't happening. But we need to remember why it's happening. Not because the Israeli government wants to kill innocent Palestinians. They are trying to wipe off the face of the earth Hamas. And in doing so, innocent people are going to die. I wish that wasn't the case, but they are. That is not because the Israeli government are a group of evil people. That is not because they are committing genocide. Most of the people that say Israel is committing genocide are so ignorant they don't even know the definition of the word. Genocide is when you want to wipe out a race of people because of their religion, maybe the color of their skin. That's genocide. That's what Hitler did. Okay, that was genocide in murdering 7 million Jews. That's what genocide looks like. Israel's not committing genocide. They're defending themselves, they're defending their country, and they're trying to wipe out Hamas in the process so we don't have another October 7th that happens. And again, what Jayapal is so ignorant that she doesn't understand, she wants a ceasefire. What she doesn't understand is that Hamas has broken multiple ceasefires over the last couple decades. What makes you think they won't break this one again? Folks, this isn't hard to understand. This isn't difficult. It shouldn't be difficult. Why is it so difficult for so many people? I will open up the phone lines if you'd like to be a part of the conversation. 702-221-7283. And again, that number to call if you'd like to be a part of the conversation, that number to call, 702-221-SAVE. Again, that's 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Who are we going with first here? Let's go to Gary. Gary, what's going on?
I just want to say that even though I'm basically an atheist, even though I struggle with it, some people struggle with keeping their faith. I struggle with being an atheist because I really do believe there should be people should be judged when they die and so forth, and there should be there should be some superior power that's overlooking us and taking care of things. And dishing out judgment when you die and stuff. But I just think that as human beings, as much as I disagree with you, you disagree with me, we have our arguments and stuff, but some people are evil. As an atheist, I do believe there are evil people, and somehow they're persuaded to become evil, and they look like us, they talk like us. I don't know how.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. Who's evil in this situation, the Israeli government or Hamas?
Oh, definitely Hamas.
Okay, well, we agree on that. So what would you say to the people out there like the Jayapals and the Squad that think the Israeli government are the evil ones? What would you say to them?
I would say that they're mistaken and they're wrong. And I don't know. I mean, I understand a little bit of where they're coming from and how you can get confused and all misguided about things.
Yeah.
But
can I disagree with you a little bit? Can I disagree with you a little bit there, please? I don't think that there should be any confusion here. I think it's pretty simple, right? I think you will agree with me on this. Hamas on October 7th started this. It wasn't because of something that happened in the 1940s, because those people aren't even alive today. Hamas wants to kill as many innocent Jewish people as possible. Sadly, they accomplished part of their goals, and they killed a lot of people. And because of that, the Israeli government and the state of Israel has a right to defend themselves. Too many innocent people have died. It's horrible. But Israel has a right to defend themselves. And when you have members of Hamas that are infiltrating themselves within the innocent Palestinian people, what are you supposed to do? Allow these people to butcher a bunch of innocent Israelis again? So I actually think it's pretty simple to me. While the loss of life is terrible, and I don't want these innocent Palestinians to die, at the same time, in the long run, these Palestinian people are going to be better off if Hamas is wiped off the face of the earth.
Well, what I meant by what I said last was that even on News 3, they were showing clips of a woman crying that these people, these Israeli the settlers, they shot her husband. And what is she supposed to tell her kids? That their father is dead?
It's awful. Gary, it's so awful what's going on. It's awful what's going on in the Ukraine. It's awful what's going on with these innocent Palestinians that are dying. It's awful with these innocent Israelis.
There's good and evil, and I don't know how we're ever going to sort it out.
You're right, Gary.
I don't
You're
know
right.
how we're going to sort it out.
I don't know either, Gary, but we got to figure something out. Gary, I appreciate your call, my friend. I got to get to some other calls.
Can I ask you something off the cuff about the Rolling Stones doing a concert?
Not when we're talking about the loss of life. Gary, I got to go, buddy. I appreciate that question, but probably not the appropriate time to ask it. 702-221-7283. Let's go to JD, who's next on Pushing the Limits. Hello, JD.
Hello, Brian. I, for one time, disagree with Gary on his last statement about being confused and agree with you. These politicians in Washington have more information, all the intelligence that you and I and he doesn't have. They know exactly what happened and how it happened. I find it interesting you're not mentioning Talib.
I did.
By name.
I did. I mentioned her several times.
I missed it.
I mention Tlaib every day when I talk about this stuff. Tlaib is a despicable human being. She's despicable.
She's the ringleader.
Well, she is. She's despicable.
Brian Greenspun wrote an article, an editorial 2 weeks ago about this situation on the censure of Tlaib. Only 22 Democrats in the House voted to censure Tlaib, including Susie Lee and Amadei, our Republican congressman from up north.
Yeah.
But Horsford and Titus did not vote to censure her.
I will ask them about that. Titus will come back on this show. Horsford's been on this show before. I think here's what they would say, and I don't want to speak for them. And by the way, I don't agree with them, but here's what they would probably say. We don't want to censor people for having a difference of opinion, even though it might be disgusting and it might be wrong because it's a very slippery slope. And then where do you draw the line? That's probably what they would say. In fact, they said that they did the same thing with George Santos, and he hasn't been convicted of a crime yet, even though he was outed. I will say this.
Yeah, well, what I would say, if I could interrupt you, I would say that they're taking a position for re-election and not taking a position of fact that they should take.
I mean, I hate to say that, but I think you can make that same claim for anybody at this point who's in office who still supports Donald Trump. I mean, there's a lot of politicians that do that.
I don't want Brian. I don't want to talk about Trump. I want to talk about this issue.
Well, this is the issue. I understand.
It's an important
I understand.
issue to you.
I understand. JD, you just made a claim, and I don't necessarily disagree with you. You made the claim that Titus and Horsford are taking a position because they remain in power. And my point that I'm making to you is a lot of politicians do that on both sides of the aisle. It doesn't make it right, but they do it. Tlaib is either one of two things, maybe one of three things. She's either crazy ignorant, very misinformed, or anti-Semitic. I would venture to guess it's all three with her.
All three.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, we agree. But there are a lot of people like that in Washington, D.C. She's one of them, and she should be outed from office.
I see. There's more guilty players here, Brian. The UN has been anti-Israel probably since conception of when they became a country in 1948. Brian Greenspun's father supported Israel he actually was charged with a crime for sending them arms. And John F. Kennedy pardoned Brian Greenspun's father for doing that, helping Israel get started as a country.
Yes.
The day after they became a country, they were attacked by 13 Arab nations.
Let me ask you a question.
So, I mean, the history is on Israel's side.
I understand.
And any of these politicians should know the history.
I agree with you. Let me ask you this question, and I want you to think about it before you answer it, because I think it's a very important question. I know you're a Republican. I know you don't like Joe Biden, and I know you don't like his administration. I get it. With that being said, would you agree with me that Joe Biden is on the right side here with his support of Israel? Would you agree with me that his strong message on Hamas and the hate that is Hamas, would you at least agree that Joe Biden has been strong on this issue alone?
I will agree with this, that he has been on that side. And his Secretary of State Blinken and his Secretary of Defense, and including Joe Biden, are now bringing up a two-state solution that has been tried forever, that never worked, and also telling Blinken, his Secretary of State, is sitting in on the Israel War Council, telling them how to fight this war. Our Secretary of State should be in Washington, D.C., trying to talk to the UN to support Israel, not telling the Israelis how to fight this war of survival.
I think you could do both, and I don't see anything wrong with coming up with some sort of suggestions that could save lives. I think Blinken and Biden are on the side of Israel as our allies. JD, I appreciate the call. I got to get to some other calls. All right, thank you for calling in. Appreciate it. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Sherelle, who is next on Pushing the Limits. Hello, Sherelle.
Hey, Brian. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing good, Sherelle. How are you?
I'm good. I was just, popping on in the middle of you just talking about loss of life, and I just truly think that the reiteration of what is tragic is the loss of life. And to your point, there are so many of these individuals that aren't alive during these age-old things that everybody is crediting. And I think that one of the biggest things we need to do is be able to have an intelligent conversation about what's happening. People are dying, and what we can do in order to move forward and end this war, and having people, that are prisoners, people who are hostages, and we need a solution and not just inflating this division that's happening.
I agree. You mentioned something that I think we'll agree on this is that, Israel released prisoners, car suicide bombers, terrorists, people who wanted to kill as many innocent Jewish people as possible. And Hamas released innocent Israelis, women and children that never did anything wrong in their life. And I think that's a really important distinction to make, and people need to understand that. There was a suicide car bomber that Israel prosecuted. She was behind bars. Her face was disfigured. And after she was released, she said that she wanted the Israeli government to pay for her plastic surgery. I just thought it was so despicable, and I just think there's such a fine line and differential between the prisoners that Israel released and the innocent hostages that Hamas released.
Absolutely. And there is, again, when we differentiate, we can actually understand. But right now, we have the younger generation perpetuating a couple of notes that they're hearing and learning on Instagram, on TikTok, and it's riling up people that I never thought I would see, just making these very blatant statements that Israel is, in fact, alienating all of the world. Yeah. And it's like, how are you spinning it so badly that people believe that Israel is in the wrong when they were attacked? We have the right as individuals to protect ourselves. It's just, if you break it down to a micro level, if someone attacks your home, you're going to defend your home, your family.
Of course. I think it's pretty simple, Sherelle. For those people that are saying that Israel is alienating the world are probably Jew haters. I'm sorry, that's just what it is to me. You can disagree with the Israeli government and you can disagree with how they're going about defending themselves. That's fine. I don't mind having those conversations. But to say that Israel is alienating themselves from the world because they're defending themselves is an idiotic statement. And those people are very difficult to have conversations with those people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Sherelle, it's great.
I'm literally getting an emergency call. It's great
go ahead.
to talk to you. I'm so glad you're speaking out on this.
Thank you, Sherelle. It's great to hear from you. I love you. Sherelle Mendenhall, everybody. And even though I disagree with her on some political issues, she's somebody that I could definitely vote for because I know she's a really good person. I love it when those people that are running for office or people that are already in office just randomly call into my show. I really do enjoy that, by the way. 702-221-7283. I'm glad they're listening. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Al. Al is next. What's going on, Al?
Hey, Brian, I haven't been really following this for the following reason, that it's just so obvious that these Hamas morons are terrorists and they're idiots, that going around killing people is not the way to solve problems. That it just, I have no words.
Yeah.
Just the idiocy and the hatred and the anger that I have for these people. And I think you're right on the money when you say these people should be just be wiped off the face of the earth.
Mm-hmm.
This mentality, this philosophy of solving problems by going out there and blowing people things up and killing people and maiming people is just way off.
You're right. Al, I will say this, though, and I think we'll agree on this. An idiot to me is somebody that protests in front of Target and says don't go into the store because they're selling pro-LGBT shirts. These people that's too nice. These people are terrorists.
Exactly.
They're murderers, and these are the type of people that have no regard for human life, whether they're innocent Palestinians or Israeli people. They're murderers, right? I mean, they're no different than those people on those planes on 9/11, those Al-Qaeda members, those despicable bastards that kill all those innocent people in this country. They're just like Al-Qaeda, maybe even worse.
I just can't understand how there is a group of people, an organization that would resort to this methodology to solve problems. It is just beyond.
Well, I don't think
me.
they want to. I don't think they even want to solve problems. I mean, they'll claim that Israel occupied state. They'll make those claims, but to me, it's not about that. This happened in the 1940s. This isn't about occupied state. This is about killing innocent people and genocide. That's what this is about.
Yeah, well, that is just way off the chart. And when you say that these people should be obliterated, I can't even say the word. I got a bad neck right now, but that these people should just be wiped off the face of the earth.
Yep.
That is just the beginning.
Yep.
That's just
let me ask you a question, Al. Let me ask you a question, if I may, because I agree with you.
Go ahead.
To me, when people ask for a ceasefire, like the Squad, they're just a bunch of morons in this country that say ceasefire, ceasefire. What would you say, Al, if the day after 9/11, or maybe days or weeks, when we found out who was responsible, and almost immediately we learned that it was Osama bin Laden and Al-Qaeda, what would you have said to somebody, Republican or Democrat, if they said, we can't go in there and invade, ceasefire, we don't want innocent Afghanistan people to die, we need to take care of our own here? Because that's exactly, to me, what some of these people are doing when they say ceasefire in Israel.
No, that is ridiculous.
Right.
Let me tell you something. And I'm an Eisenhower, person, supporter. Forget about the political party for right now. I'm an Eisenhower. That's my favorite general. And I'm going to tell you, during World War II, when we got in, and I tell this to everybody, when we got in a war, we didn't say, hey, you know what? We're into the war. Everybody come and move over to America, because I actually do have one problem with our party as a Republican, and this is a complaint that I have with my party, is that, we love the suburbs, we love the rurals, and we don't want to help with the problems in the inner cities. And that's exactly what's going on here. During World War II, when all this nonsense was going on, especially we didn't even know about what's happening with the Jews, but what these Nazis were doing, we went in there and we took care of business. We infiltrated. And that's exactly what has to happen. If somebody's got to go in there and take these guys out, because this is not humanity. This is some sick mind, which is maybe even sicker than what was happening during, well, maybe not, but what is very, very, it's when the human mind gets to its sickest point.
Well, yeah, you're right.
These people have to be taken out.
Yeah, they do.
These people have to be taken out.
They do, and
we have to take. Go ahead. And we have to take a playbook out of World War II when we went in there and we took care of the problem.
And
we can't just be sitting back and negotiating. That's
the only way all these people are going to be taken out is if we get some cooperation from Iran and the Iranian government. We get cooperation from the Palestinian people. Israel cannot do it alone. They can try to do it alone, and they've killed a bunch of Hamas leaders, which I applaud, but they need help. And that's the only way it's going to happen.
Brian, that is a good topic that I'm going to investigate now that you said that. I mean, if it's at the point where Israel can't do it themselves, I am going to start following this, and I am calling everybody out, every country to get in there and help and take Hamas out.
Amen, brother.
This is a crime against humanity.
I'm with you, brother.
Okay.
Great, good call, Al. I appreciate it. Good to hear from you, and I'm with you 100%, my man. Thank you for the phone call. All right, we got to take a quick break now. We will take a quick break, and we do have to switch topics now. And when we come back, Brian Salmon, Channel 3 Sports, going to be joining us. The NBA coming to Las Vegas tomorrow. All four teams, we know two of them. All four teams will be practicing tomorrow, and then the NBA mid-season tournament starts Thursday. Quick break. Back after this. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Hey everybody, it's Brian Shapiro from Pushing the Limits here. I want to tell you guys about my good friends at the Postal Annex. They have a notary signing agent on-site daily, no appointment needed, and they offer a full scale of printing services from shipping labels to documents, business cards, banners, photos, and business signage. They're your passport service headquarters. They offer passport photos, and they can renew your adult passports. If you're traveling in a hurry, they can get those passports to you within 7 days or less. Mailbox rentals with a physical street address, and they also receive your packages from Amazon, UPS, FedEx, USPS, and more. Here's the best part. If you're a Pushing the Limits listener, they have an introductory rate of only $39 for a 3-month service. You can't beat it. Give them a call, 702-873-8005. Check them out at 6130 West Flamingo Road. It's the Postal Annex. And tell them I sent you.
Buying or selling a home is a huge life event that requires guidance from an expert in the industry and community. My name is Blake Wynn. You may recognize my name as my grandfather was the best governor the state of Nevada has ever had. Growing up in Las Vegas, I've come to know this community intricately. Now, I am raising a family here as well, so I understand all the issues impacting our home and quality of life. As the top realtor for the #1 real estate team at Keller Williams, you can have confidence in my experience, knowledge, and track record. When it comes to buying, selling, or investing in real estate, choose a name you can trust and someone who understands the community you call home. Call Blake Wynn today and experience the difference of a trusted expert. 702-540-3311.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Tuesday. Man, a lot of, you want to talk about hard-hitting topics the first hour and a half of this show. Abortion, the conflict in the Middle East. Try to get to some more lighthearted topics here. But it's been kind of an intense show today. I appreciate all of your phone calls. On a side note, I will share this with Numchuck as well. I've done a lot of interviews on the red carpet. Like I went to the Oscars once, and when I was a reporter for CBS, and that was probably the most prestigious red carpet I ever did. I mean, I interviewed everybody. I remember when Muhammad Ali was celebrating his 70th birthday party here at MGM, and every A-list celebrity in the world was there. I interviewed the late, great James Gandolfini, and I mean, just everybody. Sylvester Stallone. I've been on red carpets of movies like Sly, Rambo. I did that red carpet. Other movie premieres like Oceans. Which Oceans movie was it? I think it was was it the second or the third one? I'm trying to remember which Oceans movie was here in Vegas, but I did that red carpet. And, you know, anyway, point I'm trying to make is I've done a lot of red carpets, but I've just learned on Thursday I am going to be walking a red carpet with a very lovely lady and very talented actress by the name of Vivica A. Fox. I just found that out. I just wanted to name drop that. That's all. I don't think anybody's going to care who I am, but she wants me to walk the red carpet with her. So if you're wondering why, the NBA midseason tournament is Thursday, and Vivica, like myself, huge basketball fans. I am so upset. Actually, upset probably isn't the word. I was in such a bad mood yesterday. The Celtics lost to the Indiana Pacers, and that guy, Halliburton, right, he just went off. I mean, he's a really talented young player, and he just went off, and he was just making everything. He had the game of his life. I am a little pissed off because I really didn't want to watch the Indiana Pacers and Rick Carlisle come to town. But, hey, listen, they're a good team. They deserve it. I think the Celtics are a better team, and in a 7-game series, I believe Boston wins that series. But the Indiana Pacers were celebrating like they just won the NBA championship. Okay, congratulations. You got to Vegas. You ain't beating Boston in a 7-game series. So I'm pissed off. And then I'm thinking to myself, okay. I wouldn't mind watching the Sacramento Kings. They're a really good, young, talented team. And then all of a sudden, the Pelicans just run them over on the road. So I was wrong on both of those predictions. I thought Sacramento was going to win, and I was worried about my Celtics because I know how good Indiana is. But I still thought the Celtics would win the game. They didn't. So the two teams that are already in, sadly, are the Pelicans and the Indiana Pacers. That ain't going to be the that ain't going to be the NBA Finals. I'll tell you that right now. So, two other games tonight. And as much as I am a Boston Celtics fan, I want the Lakers to beat the Phoenix Suns today because I'd rather see the LA Lakers. I want to watch LeBron and Anthony Davis, two Hall of Famers, and arguably one of the best players to ever play the game. I don't think that's arguably. LeBron's one of the best to ever play the game. I want to watch them in Vegas. Again, you might want to bet against me on this one, but I do think the Lakers get it done tonight. Phoenix has been a little banged up. The Lakers are at home. They've been playing some really good basketball over the last month or so, but this is going to be a very competitive, tight game. I have a feeling that LeBron's going to do what he can to get it done. And again, I'm going to go with chalk. I think the Milwaukee Bucks win today as well, and if they don't, I'm going to be very disappointed. I'm not going to be as disappointed. Like, listen, watching the Knicks play would be fun. They're a good team, and they're fun to watch, but I tend to believe that the Milwaukee Bucks are going to win and the Lakers are going to win today, but we'll have to wait and see what happens. So if for all intents and purposes, if I'm right, which I was wrong yesterday, it'll probably be the LA Lakers It'll probably be the Lakers versus the Pelicans. It'll probably be the Pacers versus the Bucks. And I think everybody would probably want to see Milwaukee Bucks versus the LA Lakers. That would be a lot of fun because that could be a preview of the NBA Finals. I think Boston's a little bit better, but I think the Bucks and the Lakers, it could happen. Let's not forget about the Denver Nuggets. I know they're not in this postseason, mid-season tournament, I should say. Denver hasn't been playing great over the course of the last month, but listen, Jokic is still the GOAT. I still think Denver's the team to beat, even though they're not in this thing. But the Lakers have been playing some really good basketball. This is great for Las Vegas. So I have decided to take a day off tomorrow. I deserve a day off once. Excuse me. Why am I taking a day off, you ask? Well, I don't always owe you an explanation, but I'll give you one now. All 4 NBA teams are practicing tomorrow at T-Mobile Arena, and I wanted to be there for it because it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to see something like this. I wanted to go to all the practices. I wanted to do some interviews, and then I'll be back on the air Thursday live. Doug Basham, the great liberal talk show host Doug Basham, will be filling in for me tomorrow. Thursday, we got some great guests lined up. Now, sometimes I joke around when I say we could get the president of the United States, and then we get John DiDomenico joining us, which is the best Donald Trump impersonator on the planet. But I'm actually being serious now. There is a possibility that we could get the president of the United States on the line. I'm talking about Joe Biden, not Donald Trump. Why? Joe Biden's coming to Las Vegas on Friday, and I'm in contact with the White House, and we're going to see if we can get him on the line for 5 or 10 minutes. Yes, sometimes it's a long shot, but we've put it out there. And if this show is probably going to be a little bit more friendly to him than a lot of these other conservative idiots that do shows in this town, morons. So that is a possibility. We've got the feeler out there, and we're going to see if we can make that work. I will be back doing the show Thursday and Friday. On Thursday, we had billionaire Jay Bloom, huge Democrat donor, in studio with his son, and I said, Sean, 21 years old, wants to be a billionaire by the age of 25. He's well on his way. I said, I want you to come in studio alone. So he agreed to. So he'll be joining us in studio on Thursday. And then on Thursday as well, we have longtime NBA veteran Junkyard Dog Jerome Williams joining us on the show. So talk a little preview of the games on Thursday night. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And then it's a tough job, but somebody has to do it. I'm rushing out the show on Thursday to pick up Vivica A. Fox at the airport. Have some dinner together. Yes. Numchuck, why are you shaking your head? What did I do? And then we're going to walk the red carpet. And I have never, as a 20-year member of the media, never actually walked a red carpet with somebody. I have done interviews on plenty of red carpets, but I'm going to have to dress my best. And Vivica A. Fox, we're going to the game. They gave us courts to the games, I should say. They gave us courtside seats to the games on Thursday. I can't wait, but obviously I'm very disappointed that my Celtics are not in it. I did make a joke to Vivica. I said, you're in luck. And she said, why? I said, because you're not going to see my pasty white ass wearing a Larry Bird jersey, because that's exactly what I would have done if the Celtics won. I'm not going to wear my Celtics jersey because they're not there, and that's it. So I won't be wearing a jersey. I'll just be wearing maybe my Sunday best. I don't know. Maybe I'll wear a disgusting Christmas sweater or something. I don't know. If anybody has any ideas, hit me up on social media. What do you think I should wear? Maybe I should wear a Vivica A. Fox t-shirt. I don't know. Maybe I should wear something like that. But I've never been on the court for an NBA basketball game. I've certainly been second row. I've been behind the bench. I've been in the media section. But I've never actually sat on the court for an NBA basketball game. The fact that I get two games in the NBA season, the mid-season tournament is so damn cool. I am so looking forward to it. I'm giddy. I'd be more giddy if my Celtics were in it, because that's a team that I could actually root for. I'm not really rooting for a team, but it's going to be fun. And I'm looking forward to it. So the practices will be tomorrow, so I'll probably have some audio to play for you on Thursday. But that'll be a good time. And, of course, the finals is on Saturday. And with that being said, I think I've already mentioned this to you, but UNLV football is in a bowl game. They're playing in the same stadium where the Arizona Diamondbacks play, and they're playing Kansas. Tough game. Kansas, really good offensive team. I look at Kansas, and I've been thinking about this as I've done more research. And yesterday I said it wouldn't surprise me if UNLV won. But Kansas has a very similar offense to Boise State. It's a very potent offense. Probably not a really good matchup for UNLV. So Odom is a defensive-minded coach, a defensive wizard, I think, of sorts. And he's got to have to come up with a game plan to stop this Kansas team. So hopefully he does. You don't want to lose your last 3 games of the year, right? They just lost to San Jose State. and a few weeks ago, and now they just lost to Boise. You don't want to lose your last 3 games. It's still a successful year and a great turnaround. But, boy, it'd be really nice, wouldn't it, if the Rebels were able to win a bowl game? That'd be super cool. So we'll have to wait and see how that happens. That's coming up, I believe, is it December 26th? I think it's on the 26th. I think we got the Las Vegas Bowl, by the way, the day after Christmas, too. Got to watch the Utes, so that's going to be a good time as well. So we got a lot of sports happening. And so I will not be here tomorrow. The game, or I should say the practices. I'm going to the NBA practices tomorrow, but I will be back on Thursday. So thank you, everybody, for joining us. Please catch me, by the way, on social media as my YouTube page evolves and always continues to grow. I got to do a better job of posting stuff on there every day. That's my fault. But we've gotten some followers here. We got about 400 or 500 followers here in the last several months, so that's not too bad. Not bad. But the YouTube page at PTL Radio Show. Check out my TikTok page where I broadcast live there as well every day. And my Twitter page, PTL Vegas. Just check out all the social media platforms because I try to post stuff on there every day as much as I can. By the way, side note, the QAnon shaman, he did say he would repost the interview, but he has not done so. And he's getting blasted on social media for that interview. I'll take a little credit for that. But he has not put it up, so for whatever reason, I don't know. Take that for what you will. Doug Basham's going to be joining us tomorrow, so we look forward to having Doug in. Appreciate him. And we will see you guys, or at least I will see you guys live on Thursday. I hope everybody has a great rest of your day. And have a good one, everybody. We'll talk to you soon.